Hello, Dave, Phil. We're back again.
What's up, Sean?
Episode 2.
Episode 2. Here
So we're pros now, right?
I think
Absolutely.
All right, that makes sense. So by next week, we'll have like 1 million followers. We'll be all over TV. Maybe hit up ESPN.
We'll be catching Ronaldo and Taylor Swift.
Ooh, I wonder where those numbers are at. We talked about that last week. I wonder if he passed her yet. I didn't see it though. So
Probably.
I'm assuming he didn't. All right. Well, everyone who's listening out there, welcome back to the Final Fantasy Futbolers podcast, our second ever episode. Last week we went over. We looked at game week 3 games. We kind of reviewed them. We looked forward to game week 4. Since then, nothing has happened. We're on international break, so today we're going to talk...
Boo. We hate international breaks.
International breaks aren't bad.
No,
some of those games are exciting.
Trash.
The USA lost to Canada, so that was sweet.
I know. Argentina finally lost, too.
There we go.
That was exciting.
It's good news. So we're going to do a similar thing today, right? We're going to look back at game week 3, talk about anything we want to talk about, and then we're still going to keep looking forward to game week 4. Then next week when we're back, we'll be reviewing game week 4 and looking at game week 5. So, last week our framework's a little different than what it's going to be this week. This week we're just going to talk about some world news, hop right to the fantasy roundtable, and then we're going to end it off with our question queen section, which is a question from one of our wives. So, that being said, we're going to get it started. World Football News. So, boys, piece of news I saw. I was scrolling today, and on Instagram I had a double take on this one. So, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, it is the first time since 2003, that's 21 years, I was 11 years old, it's the first time that one of them is not a Ballon d'Or finalist.
Wow.
Thoughts? I mean, that's a big statement. Thoughts on that?
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's obviously they're both of their greatness, their level of greatness doesn't need explained, but that's just wild that it's been that long, and it's always feels like it's just one of them two winning the award. But
we've been pretty I think as a generation pretty lucky to get to witness that. I mean, I was trying to think of it earlier today. I was like, okay, what's 2 stars that you could say it would be similar in another sport? I thought to myself, like, first I was like Lemieux, Gretzky, but, Lemieux's career was shorter. I mean, to me, it would be like the way I would see it as LeBron James and Michael Jordan at the exact same time. I mean, that's how good these two are, I feel like.
But they weren't at the same time.
Well, for the most part, they were. I mean, not at the start, but for the most part, they were at the same time. And just an absolute dominance for 21 years is incredible to me. But they're obviously now on their way out, right? I know Ronaldo's still doing his thing. I think he had a good game for Portugal, right, Phil?
I didn't watch that.
I think he scored the goal that won the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Ronaldo's still...
Sure
My goat!
So he's still relevant, right? He's on the other side of the world in a dumb league, but he's still relevant. And but he's not in the main news like he used to be. So, what do we think young players? We got Jude Bellingham, Mbappe, Yamil. I'll throw Wirtz in there. I'm a little biased, but I'll throw him in there. Do we think any of these guys are even touching those two in the future? Do we think there's any potential there?
in terms of their career accomplishments, I think I don't think with like the sheer number of goals they've scored, I don't see any of those guys hitting those levels. But in terms of like level of dominance, I think Jude Bellingham could get there. Just kind of the way him and Phil's other boy Vinicius kind of drove that team forward the past year.
Yeah.
But as far as just their sheer production, I mean, right now it's hard to predict somebody getting to that level.
Yeah.
But Bellingham would probably, and maybe Vinicius would be the ones I would look at. But
I was kind of thinking Yamal. I don't know. I feel like, how old is he, Phil? Do you know?
17.
17, and he is doing what last time we saw a 17-year-old doing what he's doing, I mean, was it Messi? I don't know. Like, he's I'm not saying he's setting the world on fire, but he's going out there in big Barca games. He's getting assists. He's contributing. I mean, it's...
I think, Dave, you're right in terms of scoring goals and assists. in our lifetime at least, we're not going to see anyone come close. I think Haaland and Mbappe are the two closest that in terms of just goal contributions could come close. But even looking at their stats, I think they would need to continue averaging like 20 to 30 goals or 40 goals a season to even tie them. And I just don't know if they're going to have the drive that Ronaldo and Messi have, because when we look at them too, it's the longevity, right? It's not only a peak of 6-7 years, it's 15 to 17 years that they dominated, to your point of them being on the podium. Obviously that shows that they were dominating. And I just don't think we're going to see that ever again.
Yeah, Holland is probably the only one that can get there from a sheer number of goals standpoint. But like you said, he's going to have to continue not at his insane pace he's been at for City, but pretty darn close to it for like a decade and a half.
No,
so,
like Ronaldo and Messi never had injuries. They never missed seasons. That's another big thing that you see with a lot of players too, that they missed 2-3 years throughout their careers. And
yeah, you won't get there if that's your measuring stick, Messi and Ronaldo's stats. You're not going to get there if you're hurt.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm good, Phil.
I do think that when we look at the Ballon d'Or, obviously a lot of people are starting to think it's losing credibility. But if we ignore the last, what did he say, since 2003, so 21 years. But even, let's take it since Ronaldo and Messi have won it since 2008, except Modric and Benzema, I think. You have Kaká, you have Cannavaro, Ronaldinho, Shevchenko, Nedved, Brazilian Ronaldo, Michael Owen. If we look at their goal contributions, it's in the 30s, it's in the 40s. Vinicius last year had 44, right? Yeah. So I think realistically we need to stop thinking about the best player of the year with what and compare it to Ronaldo and Messi. We need to shift back to what it was before, where it's who dominated the most, who helped their team the most to win titles, and regardless of their goal contributions, that's a player that should be nominated at least for the top three.
That's actually a fantastic point. I think it does. They skewed it for so long with that talent level. It does. I think we need to come back to the mean of, okay, let's judge the award on normal humans, right?
Yeah.
And maybe not the superhumans that we watched for the last 20 odd years. So it's a good point. All right. I think that was a good little starter conversation, good little icebreaker. We're going to go straight into the roundtable now, I think. So I'm going to send it over to you, Dave. Start us off, man.
Fantasy Roundtable.
Yeah, so we went through a number of guys last week. We didn't get through everybody that we wanted to, so we'll talk about just some more interesting guys that we were looking at last week across all the positions. But like we did last week, I wanted to talk about our teams first as sort of the start of this. And so I haven't really done anything since game week 3, since the international break. I've kind of been ho-humming and trying to figure out if I want to save some free transfers to make the changes I want, or if I'm going to bite the bullet and use my wild card. Because I have some guys on my team that I kind of want to get rid of, that I look back on when I drafted this, that I wish I wouldn't have. And just some bigger players I want to try to get in. But I haven't actually done anything yet. But I know you guys have done stuff or are about to do some things. So, Sean, I know you had a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so I made an executive decision with my team, right? I'm in your boat, Dave. I drafted this team really not having a strong understanding of how Fantasy Premier League works. So I was drafting, and it didn't look good. So I want to make some switches, but I also want to try and understand Fantasy Premier League in general a little more. All you listeners out there, I think we talked about it last time, but all three of us are pretty new to Fantasy Premier League, right? We're huge soccer fans. We understand the sport. But we haven't really played this version of fantasy before, so we're kind of learning as we go. And in the spirit of that, I wanted to kind of understand, if I go and make some transfers and I don't have those free transfers, the rule is you take -4 points. So I want to test, if I go out there and I get a guy is that -4 points? Obviously it's going to be player to player. It's always going to be different, but how much is that -4 going to affect me? So I had a couple of guys that I wanted to switch out. The two that I went with first was Almiron from Newcastle. He was worth around 5.8 million, or not around, but he was worth 5.8 million, and I switched him out for Onana. We're gonna talk about Onana a little bit later, but that's what I switched him out for. Onana's around 5.8 or 5.1 million, so saved about 0.7 there. Just to touch on Onana, he's of all the midfielders at 6.5 million or less. He's projected the most points, tied with Gibbs White. Over the next 5 weeks, that's 23 points. So, you can get him for 5.1 million versus Gibbs White, I think, has a price tag of 6.5 million. So it just made the most sense for me. I'm not getting a superstar, I understand that, but I'm getting a guy that I think is going to contribute, which is better than what I was getting from Almiron. Again, Newcastle, they don't look great right now. We still don't know what the deal with Trippier is. I don't know about you guys. I don't love that team right now. And I don't think I wanted to mess with Almiron anymore, and maybe I'll be wrong, but that's just where I was at with it.
Yeah, I don't think Almiron's a guy you can trust right now on your fantasy team.
He's a good real life player.
Yeah,
I like watching him, but right now, there's better ways to spend that money.
Yeah, so I went that route. I saved a little bit of money, and then my second one was a bit of a bigger move. It was a little more, I don't know, the word might be impulsive.
You're crazy.
I'm crazy. I did a straight swap for De Bruyne for Son. So I had Son on my team. I switched him out for De Bruyne. We talked about Son a little bit last week. Obviously, we all think Son's one of the best players in the Premier League. He works potentially the hardest in the Premier League. And frankly, he always has a chance to get points because he is that focal point on Tottenham. But I don't know. After watching him the first couple of weeks, it doesn't feel like the team's going to score that much, and he's really dependent. And there's a defender that was injured, correct? Who was that?
Van de
Ven, right? That's clearly hurting them significantly. So I wanted to move on, and De Bruyne, going back to the international games, he scored 2 goals for Belgium a couple days ago. So I know that doesn't necessarily play in the EPL, but that's good for him. I don't care what you say. I figured if they played, it wasn't a good game.
Israel.
Hey, listen. Israel's a powerhouse.
Yeah. Is that right?
Regardless, he scored 2 goals. He's on the best team in the Premier League right now with the guy who's scoring at a ridiculous clip. So opens the door for assists. When I went and looked at their projected points over the next 5 weeks, Son's projected 24.5. De Bruyne projected 33. So, for me, and he's cheaper, right? He's a cheaper option. And then I dug into it a little deeper because I wanted to kind of see what the assist and goal potential was. So, looking at De Bruyne, 1.69 expected assists versus Son's 0.59. Son plays midfield. I kind of want a higher assist expectation. So, having De Bruyne with that big one, again, Haaland on the team, that's going to be really big. And then goals, obviously, I think Son, he's got a little more at 1.02 versus De Bruyne's 0.75. That's not that huge of a difference for me. Shots on target, exactly the same, except De Bruyne has 12 shots to Son's 5. Right? So, and the last thing I'll say is, and I'm not discrediting Son here. I don't want anyone to think Son's not a good player.
You hate him.
I just, because
you don't need to sugarcoat it.
He's 2.5 points above his expectation through the first 3 weeks. De Bruyne's under it. So I'm not here saying De Bruyne's a better player and going to finish better. I just feel like De Bruyne, for me, I feel like he's going to be better. I'm not telling other people to make that switch. It's a switch I wanted to make.
I think it's a no Bruyne.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
Can we get a button in here for just like a fart noise or something?
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. De Bruyne is like in the top 5 of most projected points over the next 5 weeks, and he's the only one under 10 million. He has Haaland. He has the best team in the Premier League. It's a perfect time to buy him because I think he has been down in points the last few games, or at least last game, so his value went down. So I think it's a perfect time to make that switch, and he was a guy I'd noted to keep an eye out for if you have that trading power.
Yeah, like you said, their schedules are, Man City doesn't have the easiest schedule in the world. But it's by no means a difficult schedule for them, and they're a very good team. Versus Tottenham's schedule is probably slightly tougher. I know they have Arsenal in there, or not Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal. That's what I thought. Yeah,
Next week.
Yeah, so they have Arsenal in there in the next 5 weeks, and that alone's a game I don't even know if I'd want to play Sun for. So schedule wise, it also makes sense to me. But yeah, those are the two ones. Those are the two big moves I made. I took -4 points on each of those. We're gonna find out how that kind of affects my team as we experiment with Fantasy Premier League. But yeah, those are my two big ones. I talked a lot there. Phil, I don't know. Did you have anything else? Because I know you made wild card last week. You went big on the wild card. So
that's me. I was thinking about my team, and what I thought about was in college, and this is kind of off topic, but why not bring it up? So next month is, I believe, Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
October, yeah.
October. Anything that supports that cause, that science, incredible. We made shirts, and we wrote on them "Tiki Taka for the Tatas."
In college,
and we wore them out for our October game. And to this day, I think it's one of the coolest shirts we ever put together. And I was thinking we should make one and wear it during our
that exact same shirt.
It's kind of the
we're not
most
on video, so we're not on video, so
yeah. But the listeners will know we're wearing it. We're looking at each other, and I just think it's the coolest slogan ever. But go ahead.
I was gonna say we'll take a picture of you and we'll post that as the background of our YouTube video.
Nice.
Yeah, you can wear the shirt, then everyone will be able to see how good the shirt looks.
Yeah,
that'll be great.
So little story there, but going into my team, so I really just have a few notes to make. I didn't make any changes. I think we talked about it a bit last week. Lewis is a must have.
That's right.
City
That's
defender. You have to have him. If you don't have him on your team, you're doing something wrong.
Why?
Does anyone here not have him?
I have him, but can you expand on why he's a must have? I have him. I know why I have him. I'm curious why you think he's a must have.
I think he's the third highest projected defender in terms of points over the next 5-6 weeks, and he's only worth or cost $4.7 million.
Yeah, that's what's kind of crazy.
You can save so much money for other positions.
He's like 44th most expensive out of 213, which is pretty wild to your point, potentially a top 3 defender at the moment.
Yeah, Son's projected only 0.4 more points than him for more than double the price. So he's a must pick, in my opinion. Someone I'm not convinced on, and Dave, maybe I'll look at you, but Mazraoui for Man United, he already has an assist, I think, maybe 1 assist, I think, in this season. Easy matchups for United over the next 3-4 weeks. Southampton, Crystal Palace, and then Tottenham, but I think Tottenham's an interesting one. I just think he's someone that for a lower price can produce a lot for you. So in your back line, that's an interesting guy to keep an eye out for.
So we are. I think we're that's all we really have for teams. I'm gonna see like our own teams. Right, we're gonna talk more about players in and out that we want to talk about. But I think team wise, I just want to end because I just realized as I'm looking at my team here. For anyone out there who has Odegaard and or Palmer, I have both of them. Odegaard, ankle injury, 75% chance of playing according to the FPL website. And Cole Palmer, a knock. It's like NHL low body injury. I don't know what that means. They're putting him at 75% of playing. Same thing. So if you have either one of those players, I'm not saying get rid of them. I'm not transferring them by any means, but you may want to, if you're thinking about making some switches, I don't know. There you go. Maybe for a week if you want to, use one of the bench boosts or the wild cards or a free hit. If you want to use a free hit, might be the time to do it. For me, actually, it might be time to use a free hit. So things to think about. But yeah, team-wise, that's all I got. So Dave, where are we going here?
Yeah. No, I have Odegaard as well. He's one of the guys I think I want to try to transfer out. Mm-hmm. But Phil, I was glad you talked about Mazraoui because I wanted to talk about some other defenders that are also down at that price point because Mazraoui is only $4.5 million. He's looked good for United.
Can I say one quick question?
Maybe.
Before you go in there. What formation are you guys playing? Because 3-5-2 is
1-3-5-2.
obviously there's a goalie.
Well, some people don't. Some people don't play goalies. I don't know. Shut up.
Where's that fart noise at?
Wah, wah, wah. I'll add that in post.
From now on,
I'll add it in post.
we're referring to formations as 1-4-3-3.
What a gaffe. I'll add that in. I'll add that in the editing, guys. I'll add fart noise.
Are you guys going with 3-5-2?
Yes.
I think I'm playing 3-4-3 this week.
I don't have 3 good forwards. So.
Okay. Anyway, back to you. Defender topic.
But yeah, Mazraoui is a good way to save money. I think he's overall played well. The stats don't quite reflect that yet. But 2 other guys that are down at that price point that are defenders, and it might sound a little weird when I say their names because they play for Southampton, but is Yukinari Sugawara and Kyle Walker-Peters, who are their wingbacks. And I brought them up because, again, they're both cheap. They're both $4.5 mil. Now, they do play United this week. I'm not going to tell you not to use them. I'm also not
definitely using them.
I'm also not pounding the table and saying, hey, go pick up these guys right now and put them in your lineup. But if you need to save money, Southampton uses their wingbacks a lot. They've been really involved their last 2 games, and Southampton hasn't really played that well, but they have had the ball a lot the last 2 games. They've had at least 63% possession in each of the last 2 games. Kyle Walker-Peters has completed 52 passes and is in the opponent's final third of the field. The only 2 guys with more are Guardiola and Akanji. He's got 6 shots already, 3 of them from inside the box. He's second in total touches inside the opponent's box, and he's 5th in expected goals so far amongst defenders. Sugawara's stats are pretty similar. He's actually second overall in expected assists. The only guy with more is Trent. He did score against Nottingham Forest, and so, again, their schedule gets easier after they play United. But just 2 guys to keep in mind and monitor, again, if you're looking to save some money or get a leg up on your competitors in a mini league like I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I like that, but can we just go back to the fact that you said their schedule gets easier after they play Man U?
Yeah, no. Can
we just say that the schedule's easy going forward?
I said I'm not telling you not to use them.
I just want to clear up what we're talking about. I don't want to confuse the listeners.
That's a great point, Sean.
I think I may have confused the listeners when I recommended 2 Southampton defenders, but so the other thing on defenders, I don't think a lot of people are using these guys, but if you're using Chelsea defenders like Malo Gusto and, God forbid, Mark Cucurella, they gave up goals to Wolves, and they haven't kept a clean sheet yet. So if you have those guys, we've mentioned last weekend, this week, there's a lot of other dudes around that price point that are probably better options than them right now. I have Robert Sanchez, so I'm kind of feeling the Chelsea lack of defense pain too.
Palmer's also potentially out, at least for a week. We don't know yet, but if he is out, that's going to be a massive hit to that team.
Also that.
Yeah, so something to think about as well.
I don't have any other defensive thoughts. We covered most of that last week. I touched on these next 2 guys, Semenyo and Marcus Tavernier for Bournemouth last week, 5.6 and 5.5 mil. I believe I covered some of their stats, but Semenyo actually leads all midfielders in shots and shots from inside the box, and he's 3rd in both expected goals and assists. Again, Tavernier's stats look equally as good. He's actually 2nd in expected goals so far. Their next 2 games are tough. Now, they do play Chelsea, who I just got done telling you can't play any defense. Semenyo's point projection next week is actually pretty nice. So
what is it?
I believe it's like in the low 4s. I don't have it in front of me at the moment.
No, it's okay.
But, so you could use them if you need, like we've been talking about, need to get some more expensive guys in your lineup. I think there's a lot worse options than them, especially at their price point. They do play Liverpool in week 5, but after that in week 6 they play Southampton and Leicester. So maybe 3 of the next 4 weeks. Those might be 2 nice midfield options if you need some cheaper people. I don't know if you guys had any other midfield thoughts, but I had one other cheap guy that I wanted to cover.
I just wanted to go back to, Semenyo. 21 points projected over the next 5 weeks. That's pretty solid. You're right. 4.1 next week, and then potentially 2.7, but then he goes up to 5 points in game week 6. That's not... I mean, even if you wanted to pick him up for the next 3 weeks, utilize him and then maybe move off him when he gets a bit of a harder schedule,
Yeah,
I
you could
feel
always
that.
pick him up and just not use him against Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, I just talked about, Onana, who's in a similar boat. I mean, 23 points. I consider him a top pick for a top cheap pick. So I put Semenyo kind of in the same category.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair call out. Go ahead. What you were saying, you have another.
Yeah, Onana's one of those Villa guys that has the fantastic schedule. And so does the other guy. Semenyo, Tavernier are like good fourth or fifth midfield options maybe for your team. And I think this guy is too. Morgan Rogers, who's only 5.1 million. His underlying numbers are not as good as some of the other guys we've been talking about. But if you've watched Villa, they've generally looked pretty good. He's really involved. Like we mentioned, Villa's schedule is coming up is really nice. He plays a lot of minutes. So I think if you need to save some money, get some expensive guys in, I think Morgan Rogers is a solid option with that nice schedule coming up.
Yeah, it looks like he's been transferred in, I believe, a lot. Trying to get the exact number here. I saw it's like 527,000, but I couldn't see if that was in or out, or if that's just overall in and out. But I'm trying to get that up right now.
I saw that another team that has a pretty easy upcoming schedule is Brighton.
Sir.
Any guys on those teams you're looking at? I know you mentioned Mitoma last week.
Yeah,
He's a stud.
Yeah, Matoma. I mean, obviously, his name escapes me at the moment. João Pedro.
Yeah.
So both of those guys. I mean, if you need defenders, they have a lot of good options as well. What is it? Lewis Dunk, I think, has had a pretty solid start to the season, but yeah, Brighton's schedule is really nice coming up.
Yeah, I mean, that actually, it's a great lead-in for a question that I had for both of you on players. I know we talked a little bit about him last week, Welbeck. But, if you have a choice, right? If you had to go Welbeck or De Jesus, I'll be honest with you, pronouncing his first name is going to be tough for me. It's Junqueira De Jesus. Anyone on that name? No?
The pronunciation?
Yeah, the pronunciation of it, because I'm struggling.
Nope, I'm not going to go for it.
Okay, well, we'll just stick with De Jesus, and everyone just know that it's the Brighton De Jesus, okay? If there's another one you're thinking of.
I mean, you're just trying to show off with that name. You can just call him João Pedro like everybody else.
No. Oh, is that the... Okay, well, there you go. I didn't know that.
But no, my preference between the two is definitely João Pedro.
That was going to be my question, because they are the exact same price right now.
Yeah.
Welbeck has 23 points over the last 3 weeks. He has... João Pedro has 18 points. One is trending up, one is trending down. And one of them, as we talked about last week, has what was it? 2 shots, 3 goals, something. Or that was stupid. 3 shots, 2 goals. Flip it.
We do need a bun where someone makes a stupid comment. We just
listen
it.
Again. We're not pros at this yet. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there.
I
It's
mean,
a lot of...
what formation does Brighton play with? Are they at 1-4-3-3?
Oh, I see what you did there. You made fun of me.
I think João Pedro probably the good option, but it's not like he's had too many shots. I think he's had 3 shots in both the games. He's gotten 8 fantasy points. So that team is it's good, but they're distributing the love, and I don't know who's going to come out as like the more consistent option for them. I just think it's almost going to be a toss-up, but you probably should pick one of those guys if you're looking for someone at low value with high output, just because of their schedule and how good they're playing right now.
Yeah, they're both good options if you're being objective. I just think João Pedro is the better player.
Yeah,
I'm also biased because Danny Welbeck used to play for my team, and he was really good at getting into good positions and then not scoring. So
yeah, Dave, that's like 90% of the players that played for Man U that have left.
Yeah, you don't need to remind me.
Except Ronaldo.
Well, they got rid of him, though. They didn't like him.
All right.
Sure, there was a lot more to it than they didn't like him.
Well, I meant the first time he left.
Oh, yeah. Fair point. All right.
Ouch.
All right.
Ouch.
All
Ouch,
right. Before Dave gets sad, and let's keep moving.
I want to get your guys' opinions.
Yeah.
Like, I guess the opinions are probably going to be the same, but we mentioned last week that Isak and Ollie Watkins are the two most transferred out players.
Mm-hmm.
Third is Saka,
I saw that.
which I
have
was too
no-
focused last week to really take note.
I wonder why.
That's
I
Saka.
didn't
Well,
notice that.
I'm about to tell you why.
Oh, I love that, Dave.
Dave with the numbers.
I love
he's
that.
He's our number guy.
That's the number, guy.
He's our number guy.
3/4 of the people that sold Bukayo Saka were doing so for Mo Salah. 75% of his transfer outs, the person bought Mo Salah.
Well, and that's because we were saying Salah has such an easy schedule.
Right.
Him or Haaland are your two best picks. I think they're tied in points, right?
Oh, I don't know that off the top of my head.
I think
but-
they both have like 41.
I'll check it for you.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is
sorry.
I think I certainly get it. I don't think if you have Saka, I don't think you need to be like running to the hills to sell him. The one thing I do want to say on that topic is because Arsenal's schedule really improves in week 6. The next 2 weeks their schedule is not too hot if you take a look at it.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I know one of the things I've been thinking about is I said I'm kind of deciding if I want to wait a couple weeks for some free transfers to accrue or use a wild card. Week 6 is one of the weeks I'm looking at using a wild card, since there's a lot of guys that we've mentioned that I like whose schedules improve then. And that is one of the factors for me, is that Saka's schedule really improves once you get to week 6, because I know their next 2 matchups are pretty difficult. They play Spurs and City.
That's
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah, go
insert.
for it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. 41 points. Good,
Yeah,
Nice.
good memory there. They are literally, they're tied, which is quite impressive for Salah to be keeping up. I mean, I know it's not goal wise, but just point wise, keeping up with that in this game. It's
I think it goes back to what Dave said last week. Liverpool just looks like a really, really good team right now. It's
Yeah.
not just Salah being outrageously good. They're just playing. They're like Liverpool 4 years ago. Like everything they did, they're just a machine.
yeah, it's impressive. It'll take every piece of that midfield, like you said last time, Dave. Every piece of that midfield. If it's a starter on that team, I'm happy to buy in.
Yeah, they're all good options. Like, I have Szoboszlai, who I love, but as I've said many times, I think I have a number of guys that I could use my money more effectively on. And so,
We'll learn.
but yeah,
We'll figure it out.
Liverpool's good.
What do you guys think? Because I have a note here to say Arsenal schedule hard. I'm assuming that means that they have hard matchups coming up.
Chelsea and City,
And Tottenham.
or
next
excuse
week.
me, Tottenham and City.
Tottenham,
My
City,
bad.
and Liverpool in the next 5 weeks. So I know a lot of people have Raya as their goalie. Is he worth keeping at 5.5? Because Arsenal has played those teams well over the last year. And you expect him to save some shots, and even if he concedes a goal, and if he comes out with a win, he could be positive, but you are running a risk, especially against City and Liverpool.
I think I don't have any issue really playing him against Spurs.
Yeah.
City, I mean, that one's self-explanatory. That's a risk, and they're probably going to get scored on. Then they play Leicester, Southampton, and Bournemouth. So, but then it's Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea. I don't know. That's probably looking too far ahead at this point, going that far. But I think I would hold him. I think I'd feel good about playing him for the next 5 weeks.
I mean, it goes back to the point, we don't necessarily know this game perfectly yet, but trying to understand, is it worth keeping a goalie that, he may give up a goal, but he may get 9 shots on net against them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do those
That's-
points outweigh the -2 you get for 1 goal against?
Yeah.
So you start to think about it. Because Arsenal's not a bad team. I don't know if they're going to get routed, right? I don't think they're going to lose 3-0 or something.
They beat and tied City last
Exactly,
year.
yeah.
They won 1-0 and tied 1-1, I'm pretty sure.
You give up 1 goal, you get a bunch of shots in you, that might be worth it.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of the things, because like from playing other fantasy games, like especially I like fantasy baseball, that's all stats and numbers and looking ahead and what's predictable and sustainable and what's not. And this game is a very week to week game, and just everything that I've read, that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out the right balance of, like looking at guys that might be interesting in the long term versus what do I need to do to score more points than you next week.
Yeah.
Right.
which I do need to do. But thank you for taking
both
that
need
negative
We
8.
both need to.
Yeah, I did just take the -8, so I took that lead, and I basically said, "All right, taking a chance." Yeah, that's all right.
Cut it in half.
That's all right. We're all trying new things. Someone I wanted to bring up is Leon Bailey.
Your boy.
Yeah, he's a Leverkusen guy.
What's going on with Leverkusen?
When
They're no longer unbeaten.
Yeah, I thought they never.
Are we really going to talk about that?
I thought they were never
It was like
losing.
2 weeks ago.
I don't care.
I don't care.
They're basically the Everton of the Bundesliga. Is that what you want me to say?
Listen, people are going to figure out this is a real petty podcast.
Yeah.
Is that what you want me to say? They're up 2-0. They lost 3-2. They did not look good.
Remember you texted us at halftime saying...
Yeah, I talked a little bit of smack, and
You were
I
talking
regret that moment,
mad crap.
and I'm not happy about it. But the good news is they're in the Bundesliga, where competition's not as intense, so still plenty of chances.
This is a podcast for the EPL. My bad.
Anyway, Leon Bailey.
Jerks. Leon Bailey. So, as Phil obviously mentioned, he came from the Bundesliga. I don't think this EPL move up to now has really worked out the way he had hoped. He's a very exciting player, but he just had a hamstring injury. So if you are a Leon Bailey holder, I think you're at a point now where you're wondering, is it time to offload him? He has that injury, and even before the injury, he was underperforming pretty heavily. Game 1, he had 1 point against West Ham. Game 2, he had 2 points against Arsenal, and he only played 75 minutes. Then, obviously, Game 3, that's the injury. He was taken out. At the moment, he's not expected to play Game 4. And I think we all know, right? We watch enough sports around the world. Doesn't matter what league you're in. You have the best doctors generally in your country. And hamstring injuries don't go away. They linger. I don't care how good of an athlete you are. It's something that's always concerning. Some people's careers have been just derailed. I'm hoping that's not his case. I don't think it's that serious, but it has derailed players before, so it's something to think about.
Especially if you're somebody that relies on their pace. So
Exactly.
much, so-
He's an explosive player.
yeah.
That's what he
That's
is.
the word.
And, I noticed after his Arsenal performance, he was getting traded out big time. So I think other people were seeing it, but I still think there's still some people that are holding on to him, hoping. If that's you, I would be ready to move off him quickly. He's worth $6.4 million still. That price is just going to keep going down. We don't even know the next time he's going to play. So
especially when you have a few guys like Ezzy, who's 6.9 million.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think moving off of him is the right play.
Yeah, and again, it's like, if you want to say, oh, well, it's a couple bad performances, he could come back. 4 total shots, 1 on goal. He just wasn't doing too much in a full 2 games. His expected goals, 0.45, expected assists, 0.1. The stats just aren't there. And like I said, lingering hamstring injury, you hold on to him and he gets hurt again, you're not going to be happy. And it stinks because he actually has a pretty good schedule coming up. Everton, Wolves, Ipswich, that would have been pretty nice. But I'd be moving off him. Now, if I'm moving off him, my strategy is going to be, and this is where I'm going to come back to Onana, you could easily move off a $6.4 million. What's my name? And for the record, that is Amadou Onana, everybody. That is not the goalie. We had that confusion earlier. That is Amadou Onana. I would move off of Bailey at 6.4. I would get Onana at 5.1. Again, he is projected 23 points. That is tied for the best for midfielders under 6.5 million in the game. So that's what I would be looking to get. The other person you could look for is Gibbs White. He's at 6.5 million, but they are expected the same, so you could really save some money here. So that would be what I would do with a straight trade. Now, I was thinking to myself, okay, if I'm someone who has Bailey and I'm trying to make a big move, what would I do? So I came up with a little strategy. You guys can tell me what your thoughts are on it. If let's say, I'm going to use players on my team. I don't have Bailey. We'll insert him, but the other players are players that I would go for. So I would first look to get rid of Bailey, right? Save that 6.4 million, and then I'm someone who has Isak. We've talked about him plenty of times. A lot of people have moved off him. Dave and I were sticking with him, but if I'm in this scenario, I would look to offload him at 8.5 million. That'll give me 14.9 million. I would go get Onana, so that's an upgrade, right? 23 expected points. Bailey, we don't even know if he's going to play. Get him for 5.1 million, and then with the rest of that 9.8 million, you can go get a Havertz if you don't have him. You can go get an Ollie Watkins if you don't have him. Havertz is expected 31 points over the next 5 weeks. Ollie Watkins, 28 points. Isak, expected 24 points.
Can't you get De Bruyne too with that?
You could get De Bruyne, but I mean, you'd have to be. I'm trying to go forward for forward, getting rid of
gotcha.
Isak. So, I mean, there's a lot of options you could do, but just when you look at it just from that standpoint, Bailey, who we assume is not getting any points, you now have Onana at a cheap price, going to get some points, and you've taken Isak, who hasn't. We don't know if he's going to perform the way we wanted him to. You got Havertz and Watkins, who are both projected more points. To me, that's a win-win.
Yeah.
Potentially a win-win-win. Thank you, Michael Scott.
Win-win.
Win. So that would be my strategy. That's just, if I'm still a Bailey holder, man, look to get Onana, get a little bit extra money, and then see what you can do if you have a player out there that you're like, I like this guy, but I don't love him. That's kind of the route I would take. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
No, what's the quote from Billy Madison? I have nothing to add.
I have nothing.
We have no response. That was perfect.
It was perfect.
No,
The game host guy.
No, I like that. We talked about Watkins and Havertz last week. Two of our, targets not named Holland to forward.
Well, yeah.
So, I definitely get rid of Leon Bailey, especially if he's not going to play and he's underperformed lots of other guys.
He had a lot of hype coming into the season, so I know some people might still be holding out hope, but I just think...
I mean, you can also get a Visa for $6.1 million.
Who?
Wisa.
Visa.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how there's so many guys not so many, but there's several guys like Bailey that still have a high value that you can trade out for some top 10, 15, 20 players.
Exactly.
Projection-wise. So...
Yeah, I think, that's what we are, trying to develop our own strategies. This is, kind of why we're going through this exercise of, when these players their prices don't move that fast, you have a lot of opportunity to drop a guy that you thought was going to be good that has a high price tag. You can go get a guy that's, the start of the season was undervalued, and you can go pick him up, and as the value goes up, you're going to take that.
Yeah.
And then you have now an opportunity later on. Maybe you get rid of him, make some extra money. So there's a lot of good strategies, going forward. We're going to try and give as many of those types of things as we can. I don't know anyone else. Phil, you haven't talked in a while. Anything from you?
No, I mean, I have the perfect lineup right now, and this week's going to show that. We were talking about people dropping Saka to get Salah. Mm-hmm. What if you have Saka and Salah and Haaland? So
that'd be pretty cool. You probably have no midfielders.
Start me and Sean at midfield.
Yeah, you probably have no midfielders.
I mean, I'm sure you would get more points than what my guys did last week or 2 weeks ago. So that'd probably be an upgrade.
All right.
But
so, I mean, I'll go off that. So, I think that's all we have for this section. But let's talk. I know we did it last week, but a couple things have changed. Let's see where everyone's at again, captain-wise. Right? We're coming up to the next week. We talked about who we're going to captain. For me, it's changed a bit because Palmer is at 75%, so I have to rethink it. Dave, what about you? Captain, vice captain?
I'm going Havertz and Yota, captain and vice captain.
I like that. Captain, vice captain. Phil, what about you? Captain, vice captain.
I was on the Haaland train last year, last week, but I think I'm going to do Salah heading into this upcoming weekend. I think he's going to be my captain and vice. Yeah, probably Haaland, just in case something happens.
Okay, for me, I'm stuck between two. I'm looking at Isak. I'm looking at De Bruyne for captain, vice captain. I don't know which way I'm going to go. I also have Havertz, but I don't know. It's a decently tough matchup against Tottenham. So I'm looking Isak against the Wolves or De Bruyne against Brentford. I'm probably going to go with De Bruyne just because I spent the -4 to pick him up. So why not roll him out there with the captain? So I'll probably go De Bruyne as my captain because Palmer, I'm just worried. If right before the weekend starts, if Palmer is 100%, I'm going to stick with Palmer and De Bruyne will be my vice. But at the moment, I'm going to say De Bruyne and Isak.
I was going to say, just have Palmer as your captain and De Bruyne as vice, just if he's
It'll switch it.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, so I take that back. That's a great point from Phil. I will probably captain Palmer And then I will vice captain De Bruyne. So if Palmer does not play, I still get those points.
I will
Good call.
say De Bruyne did score 2 goals against Israel. So are you sure? You don't want to captain?
Listen, I don't care who you're playing against. These are professional soccer teams, and that's good form.
Are they a professional soccer team?
Yes, they are a professional soccer team. Okay, that's two goals, 2 more goals than anyone else in Belgium had. Okay, actually, I don't even know. The final score might have been 3-0. So
Watch it be like 7-0 and someone scored 3.
I think it was 3-1.
All right.
yeah, so there you go. Everyone, 3-1. There you go. Yuri Tillmans had a goal. De Bruyne had 2. One of them was a penalty.
Tillman is such an interesting player. Maybe we talk about him in an upcoming podcast.
We can definitely hit on Yuri. I kind of forget about him. He's like
5 years ago, like these stars that everyone thought were going to be the it guys, but didn't turn out.
Talked about Sancho last week, so
yeah. And I still think he's great. I think Tillmans is a great player.
All right. So that was the fantasy roundtable. Obviously, that took up the majority of the podcast today. We had no EPL news.
Do we want to do one final round of just a quick blast of one must pick up, one must drop, and our captain, just as a summary?
We can. I mean, mine are going to be very similar to what I talked about.
Yeah,
we can do that.
just one.
We can do that.
So from Sean Feely.
So for me, I mean, in my situation, the must pick up is Onana. He's just very cheap for what he is when you're looking at midfielders. And my must drop, again, it's going to be Leon Bailey. Anyone who still has him, the potential might be there, but I just don't think he's going to be relevant for a while.
Yes, sir. And captain? Palmer,
I'm captaining Palmer. If he gets hurt, I'm got my vice is De Bruyne.
That's advice from Sean. Dave?
Well, captaining Havertz. I mean, I don't know how You said Leon Bailey is your must get rid of?
Must get rid of, yes.
Then I'll say anybody that plays defense for Chelsea, if they're for some reason still on your team, you got to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And your must go pick up, I won't say Onana because you said him. I'm going to go with Semenyo from Bournemouth.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, and for captain, I have Salah. Must pick. I'll double down on him. Lewis and City defender, and must drop Son. Get him off your team. Save some money. Get someone else.
All right, I like that. All right, there we go. With that being done, we are going to go on to the final section.
Question Queen.
Which I'll just quick explanation again, just so everyone's aware. These are questions that every week we get one question from one of our wives. The question is related to soccer, but through their vantage point. So it doesn't have anything to do with a game or a team or a player. It can just be totally random. Like last week, my wife's question, Jessica, it was if you had to pick 4 players from the EPL and put them into the 4 Harry Potter houses, who would you do? Which houses? That was a fun question.
Who would you do? Come on.
Man, this is
Come
supposed to be
on now.
PG.
This is PG.
That's on me.
Freaking,
That's terrible.
Freaking
So-
ridiculous, Dave.
So this
Sean
week,
has like 4 fart buttons. We're getting
listen,
that
I'm gonna
little
get a
thing.
fart button. It's coming. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get it.
You're ridiculous today.
All right. So if I can get no more interruptions from my co-host, Dave, your wife, Olivia. She did the question this week. We are hearing it for the first time. Dave, what question does Olivia have for us?
Well, since a certain lady was on TV a lot with the return of the NFL, Liv asked, if Taylor Swift had to date one player in the Premier League, who would she date? Now, obviously, this is in a parallel universe because she's with that nice, wholesome boy, Travis Kelce.
Nah.
But who would she date?
That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be a tough one.
So I did cheat a little bit, and I did Google, since I don't do the social medias that much, Taylor Swift's past boyfriends. I was trying to get a feel for her type.
Okay.
Not a weird looking guys in there, but I saw a preference, I think, for dark haired men.
Okay.
And so I got thinking, and I think she would go for Gabriel Martinelli.
Gabriel Martinelli.
That
This
is
is a
handsome
handsome dark-haired fellow, right?
Yeah.
Let me check
Brazilian.
something. Listen, I have some pretty.
That's as far as my reasoning goes.
I have some things here. So let me check him out for a second. Not like check him out, but let me look. Okay, so there's a couple issues I'm going to see with that one, Dave. First of all, he's 23 years old.
Not important.
She's 32, so that is important.
Not important.
That's very important. Let's see how tall he is. He's 5'10". I think she's probably 5'10". You know, here's I'm going to go deep on this one. I'm going to go deep on this one. Listen, my wife is a Taylor Swift fanatic, so basically this is what I get. Football season starts, I have to hear about her 2 times as much as I did before, and that was already too much. So, Taylor Swift dates a pretty tall guy, right? So we're looking for tall guys in the EPL. My first thought is center back, right? Center backs are tall, they're big dudes, they're pretty quiet, right? I know Travis Kelce isn't quiet, but he doesn't cause a lot of drama. He's not like a striker might be a little more try to be in the spotlight all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm going center back. She has a song called London Boy. Phil, we know that album. That's a good album.
It's a great
album.
album.
She dated a guy from London. She likes English dudes, right? Martinelli's Brazilian. Count him out.
Yeah, terrible.
She likes English guys, right? So now we're on center backs. We're down to English dudes.
I know who you're going to go for.
Okay, I think you might. Next part, 23-year-old. Okay, that's weird, Dave. She's
So
32.
weird.
Don't be weird about
She's
it.
had the old boy.
We're looking.
Now she wants the young cat.
That was good. So we're looking for someone in the same age range. I'm looking for someone who's around 30 years old. I know someone who's around 30 years old. Okay, you guys figuring out who I'm talking about here
Can
yet?
we ask one clue question?
Absolutely.
Does he play for Manchester City?
Absolutely he does. Who do you think it is?
Stones.
Jonathan Stones. How tall is that man? He's got to be like 6'4", maybe.
He's a good-looking cat.
He's a good-looking guy. He's
Yeah.
6'2". He's English. We know she likes that. And what else did I just say about him? I already forget. He's 30. The age range is there. I'm saying John Stones. That's her kind of guy.
You're going to criticize me and then say John Stones.
Right? You picked a 5'10" Brazilian 23-year-old for Taylor Swift.
Listen.
Come on.
I'm just trying. I'm just trying to make her happy.
Look,
okay?
I'm going to take this seriously because if I don't, Jess is going to yell at me at home. Okay? So I'm taking it
I
seriously.
just also want to point out that you said she likes a London boy, and you picked the guy that plays in the city of Manchester.
Yeah, the point was
not the same
the
town.
point was an English person. You picked a Brazilian.
That's a little. I'll let you off the hook on this one.
Yeah.
You've had enough fart noises, but what do you have for us, Philip?
So, the moment I heard the question, again, we don't know until we get to the question queen section. I went to my AI application and said, who would Taylor Swift date in the Premier League?
Okay.
And AI recommended Saka or Foden.
Saka.
So I immediately closed the app. Never going to use that again. I was robbed of my money when I paid for the yearly
That's
subscription.
hilarious.
So, to
Like
the hell
those are
with
two that would definitely not happen.
Like, they're two baby dolls.
They're so tiny and they're very young.
Me and the AI are going for the young boys here.
Yeah, you guys are creeps. But I was thinking Allison, Liverpool
Alisson,
goalkeeper.
I like that one. You guys like the Brazilians, huh?
Brazilian, but
He's
handsome,
a good
got
looking
the
dude.
beard, strong, tall.
Big guy, like a center
Quiet.
back. Quiet.
So,
I think Phil wins this one.
That's unbelievable. You are biased because you don't like John Stones. That's absolutely. Listen, Phil, you can win this one.
I'll take the win.
Any listeners out there, if you want to give an opinion, you can give an opinion because I'm a little biased. So I think I won, but I will give Phil this win. So we're gonna go with Allison. The goalie for Liverpool would be the person that Taylor Swift would most likely date in the EPL.
listeners, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Say email, they can email.
Yeah.
If we're either wrong or they want to insult Dave for being a little weird with a young age guy.
Yes, questions, comments, if you just want to chat. If you want to give us pointers, if you want to insult Dave for liking Man U, that's totally fine.
Yup.
Email us at our official email, finalfantasyfootballers@gmail.com. That's all lowercase. Footballers spelled FUTBOLERS. So that's finalfantasyfootballers@gmail.com. And you can also comment and like our YouTube videos.
Like the video.
Like the video. And with that, Boys,
Wait, where can they listen to us on?
you're right. We're official now.
Come on, we got to plug.
You're right. You can listen to us anywhere that you can find your podcast. So Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes. Again, we're putting videos on YouTube. So find us on all those places. And we'll be back at it next week for episode 3. We'll be covering, like I said, week 4 games. And we're looking forward to week 5. So with that, I think we're out of here.
We're outie.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.